Good morning. Today's video is going to be a little bit different to what I've been filming so far. Last week I was saying that I was going to chat over my post-pill experience and everything that has come with all those lovely hormonal changes since. Before I jump into it, I just wanted to do a quick flash over some of this week's meals, just a little highlight reel, some little clips, as I'm not really going through much of that in today's video. This week we had our chicken palmy with the eggplant. We did some rice and potatoes. We had our beef burgers. This one is a regular potato wedges as well. I also made this into a burger bowl with just the rissoles, cheese, side salad for lunch the next day. I made a stir fry with the Hokkien noodles, all the veg, pork mince, and oyster sauce, and served this one up with dumplings too. And this is just chicken for lunches for the week as well. Okay, so I've got some notes here so I don't forget anything or lose track of thoughts, because I'm very known to do that. I want to jump back to April 2022. That is when I decided to stop taking the pill. Before I get into anything, for context, this is obviously just my personal experience. By no means is this any sort of advice, medically, nutritionally, etc. And I'm so open to other people's opinions, thoughts, and personal experiences as well. But yeah, please just keep in mind that this is very much just me telling my personal experience for the sake of someone else who might be going through this, or just someone who's curious or maybe looking to go off the pill themselves, so on. Let's jump back to April 2022. This is when I decided to stop taking the pill. For context, I had been taking it for just shy of 10 years. I want to say I probably started in 2014. Yeah, so just over 8 years maybe. When I first stopped taking it, I got my typical period or bleed after stopping taking it, which you would get normally on the pill, which technically is not a real period. But from that date forwards, I had my first cycle that was 70 days long until I got my next period after that. And then after this, a 50-day cycle. Then the inconsistencies continued from there. Quite literally, my cycles were 30, 39, 31, 37, 42, 45 days. Very inconsistent. I did not know what to expect or when to expect my period within the first couple of years of coming off the pill. Now, this is different for everyone. You hear stories about people who come off and they're like, not that we were trying to fall pregnant for context by any means, but that they, fall pregnant a month or two off the pill, or some people who get their cycle straight away and it's within those kind of normal days and ranges of like 28 to 35 days. My experience was not at all like this. I felt pretty normal or no changes in this period of time besides that. I think there were a lot of behind the scenes things going on that I was unaware of. And I think I was probably a bit naive in the sense that I didn't really look into anyone else's experience, have any sort of medical professionals behind me to help me through this journey. I just wasn't very educated, and I very much was just like, I want to stop taking this. I've been on it for a long time. I've been hearing good feedback in news about, the downsides of taking the pill long term, etc., etc. And I really just wanted to see what my cycle, my hormones, my body was like off it. But yes, I very much just decided that on a whim and stopped taking it cold turkey. Jump forwards, this was April 2022 that I stopped. Jump forwards to September, so about 5 months later, this is when I really started to feel and notice a lot of changes in my body. The biggest one being my skin. And I'll put some photos in, I'll see what I can find. In all honesty, taking photos, videos, things up close of my skin was not something I did much of during this time. I definitely have a couple of photos for context that I will put in, which is a very scary thought if I'm being completely brave and honest. But I definitely was shying away from being in front of the camera. And even just like looking in the mirror made me feel uncomfortable. That's a whole nother conversation that I will get into, but I just don't have a lot of reference photos, but I will put in what I do as I talk about it. My skin, looking back, I noticed a lot more changes than I even felt before it was obvious. My face was so inflamed, especially kind of around the jawline, the chin, the cheeks. You could see visually looking back at photos even before my skin was breaking out how inflamed I was. I dare say I'd put on some weight during this period of time, but I'm not someone that regularly, well, really at all weighed myself over this period of time. And sometimes you don't really notice changes until all of a sudden they're like staring you dead in the face. So over this time I was definitely not experiencing or noticing a whole lot of changes just yet. But around that September 5-month later mark, my skin was definitely starting to get really oily. My pores were even more visible than usual. I started to get just some small breakouts, a couple around the chin, around the jawline, but this further developed over time into like full-blown cystic, sore, inflamed acne that I had never experienced before. As a teenager, I definitely didn't have the best skin. I had quite oily skin, or like an oily combination as an adult as well. But I'd never experienced like cystic deep acne. It was always like kind of surface level, pimple here and there, especially in certain stages of my cycle, before my period, that kind of a thing. But there was no rhyme or reason. It was constant. It wasn't just like one or two pimples popping up here or there. It was like groups of heaps of them. There was no stage from the start of this journey until somewhat recently that it wasn't constant and a new collection of breakouts to wake up to every morning. It got to the stage where I was doing things like, obviously everybody says, don't wear makeup, don't cover up your skin when it's breaking out, but you bet that's the first thing you want to do. And I would be like wearing makeup in the morning, taking it off during the day for the sense of like clearing oil and clearing my skin, putting it on again in the afternoon, obviously working split shifts like I do. I was sleeping in face masks overnight to avoid like oil like build up. It was obviously, anyone who's dealt with bad skin before, you will try and do anything. And that is very much what I was doing. It was honestly a very, very tough time in my life that I was in tears a lot. Poor Matt had to be a lot of comfort during that time. I also noticed a lot of inflammation in my body as well. I was feeling very uncomfortably bloated. As I said, I dare say I was putting on weight around this time, but I wasn't aware of it in the moment of it. But yeah, around my stomach especially, I remember I was always so uncomfortable, feeling really like internally gassy, and just a lot of discomfort, I would just say, from like all of the hormonal changes. I feel like in this time, in regards to my skin, I tried all of the things. Anyone who's been through a journey like this, or even just had, skin that has broken out a lot in their life, has tried all the things. Every personal experience on TikTok, every medical-based video, every doctor's visit where you ask for advice, I tried all the things. Any type of skincare you could imagine that was targeted at acne, skin healing, etc., etc. I tried many different topical things. I tried retinol, tretinoin in a topical sense, antibiotics, both as like topicals and as, what's the word I'm looking for? Like in tablet form. Some of those things did help. Honestly, not a lot of skincare did, because there was so much obviously going on behind the scenes that I was unaware of. But I was on a couple of different antibiotics through my GP, which were helpful at the time. But honestly, I think they probably added to the bigger picture as far as, don't mind me, I have to get my chicken out of the oven really quick. Sorry, multitasking with my week's worth of chicken in the oven. Where was I? Yes, antibiotics. So I was taking some antibiotic treatments, and I think although they helped at the time, it very much was only a help when I was on them. The second I stopped taking them or tried to phase something else in, they weren't very helpful. I dare say with a lot of things going on hormonally and in my gut as well, as far as my gut health goes, that would have just added to the problem. I, at the time, don't think I was taking like a probiotic or anything to help in that regard either. So yeah, I feel like although some of those things helped for me, I felt like I'd tried it all, nothing was working. It was very low time in the sense of feeling really down about that there was nothing that could fix it. Keep in mind, age-wise, how old would I have been? Like this would have been mid-20s to late 20s. So experiencing what only I could relate to teenage breakouts, when not many of your friends seem to be going through the same thing. It's not like, when you're in high school that it feels like some kids are going through the same thing with you. It was shit. It was not a fun feeling. In regards to my skin journey, I did end up at the end of 2024 seeing a dermatologist and starting roaccutane. I'll jump into that later. But that was honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I know obviously there's a lot of mixed opinions in regards to this treatment itself, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. As far as my cycle in general, I obviously knew there were things that needed to be done behind the scenes to help, given that there were so many different symptoms and things that were contributing to this situation. I can't think of context of time. I want to say maybe 12 months after stopping taking it, I did see a naturopath. She was very helpful. It was quite interesting because being a nutritionist myself, sometimes seeing another similar but different health professional feels a bit odd in the sense of them, asking you for a food diary and different things, which is what I would tend to do with my own clients. So it was a very interesting experience in that regard, but I'm so all for putting trust in other health professionals, even if they are very similar to yourself. And also stepping away from your own personal experiences and emotions is also super important, and definitely was for me. She was fantastic. I think she put me on some different herbal blends that would help with things like my liver health, and we did a lot of blood tests around my hormones and different things. Going through this side of the journey, a lot of liver markers were elevated, which is not surprising since your liver deals with a lot of your hormones. And there were some different things that kind of were flagged in that journey, but the main one was my liver enzyme. So that was the main thing that we were targeting through treatments there. It got to a stage though where I felt like, yes, that had helped and I was feeling better, which is very important, but it hadn't helped many of my physical symptoms to do with my skin. And I still really wasn't feeling not even 100%, not even 75%. I had gone from 25 to 50%. So it was very helpful, but I knew that there was more I needed to do. That was when I decided to see a dermatologist. So I was referred to a dermatologist to talk about treatments there, because I knew that as far as what I'd done medically, it wasn't necessarily being helpful and I needed more advice in that regard. That was when I was recommended roaccutane. Now, I went into this appointment full well knowing this is what was going to happen. I've heard a lot of people's experience where they've gone to a dermatologist, not to say this is all dermatologists, but they've gone to a dermatologist not wanting to go on this treatment, and that was always the thing that was recommended. I think knowing that I had done so many different things, I was going in there knowing that that was something that I hadn't done, that I had heard a lot of people would get results from. I was very anxious about the process, but I was also very desperate and really needed someone to tell me this is going to fix your problems, because nobody else had been able to do that. They'd been able to help, but no one had really been able to give me a solution long term. Starting this was a bit nerve-wracking, mainly because, besides the obvious, I actually found out that roaccutane medication has some sort of soya bean something or other in the coating or in the ingredients, and there's something linked to potential anaphylaxis with people with peanut allergies. And now I am anaphylactic to peanuts. So I literally had my first tablet in the dermatologist's office and was monitored for an hour. And anyone who has an allergy can understand how stressful that was, along with all the other obvious things I've already discussed. But I was very anxious to start the journey. I had heard a lot about people's skin purging and the shitty part of the earlier stages of roaccutane. So I think I just really wanted to get past this. I definitely found in the first month things got worse before they got better. I remember I started taking this, for reference, December 2024, beginning of December. And I remember going down to the caravan with Matt's parents and Matt just after Christmas, so very end of December, pretty much a month into the treatment. And I remember quite literally going to have a shower, because it's like an on-site caravan with external showers. And all of a sudden my skin, like out of nowhere, it was already in the stages of not being great, but like out of nowhere was breaking out terribly. And I had, for the maybe 6 days that we were away, it continued to do so. And then by the time I got home, it had already settled down. So it was mayhem, but it was only for a very short period of time. It didn't get heaps better early on, but it definitely was better after this than it had been in that week alone. When it got a lot worse, it kind of just went back to what it was like before that. It probably was, I'm trying to like back on my notes so I don't forget anything. I think it was probably around the 3rd month of being on this treatment that I noticed changes, that I started to feel like, oh, my skin isn't as oily, it's not breaking out as much, it's starting to heal more so, because obviously scarring was a big issue at this stage too, because my skin had been terribly breaking out for like a good, 2 years by this stage. And a lot of scarring comes with that, a lot of picking at your skin, even though you shouldn't be, comes with that, and there's obviously that whole journey too. But I noticed around the 3-month mark that it started to improve. And then by about the 5-month mark, so I'd say March, April, is when I noticed that my skin had pretty much completely stopped breaking out from that point. And it was more around the healing journey of my skin from there, as far as finding good products along with the medication itself that were helping with my scarring and just healing my skin barrier, because my skin, although very oily, was dry and sore, and a lot of topical and medicated treatments that target breakouts and acne really strip your skin. They've got really harsh ingredients. Things like salicylic acid, which can be beneficial, but in large doses was stripping my skin. Benzoyl peroxide is in a lot of things, which is really harsh. So I feel like that's been a big journey, and that's still where I'm at now today, even though I'm definitely on the better part of this journey now. I'll put in some updated little clips of what my skin is looking like now, but honestly, it's probably almost back to the best it's ever been. But yeah, it's been a big journey now of the inflammation going down and healing a lot of scarring. I don't remember what dosage I was on as well for reference. I want to say the tablets are 20 milligram tablets, and I started off on 10 milligrams, which was a 1 every second day, because they want to build you up to try to avoid purging too much. I was on then 20 milligrams or 1 tablet a day for a good 3 or 4 months while they were doing bloods, monitoring everything to make sure, because they really like to keep an eye on your bloods every, I think it's 3 months, to see how your liver's responding, and other things in the body as far as cholesterol and different things, and all was responding well. So they put me up to 40 milligrams, or maybe it was 30 milligrams. I think it was one day to a second day alternating. And then we went up to 40 because my side effects were tolerable, which I'll talk about in a sec. And then I stayed on 40 up until about the 7-month mark, where my skin was doing really well. Then the dermatologist recommended coming back down to 1 a day. And she very much said it was in my hands whether I wanted to back it off from there and just see what my skin could tolerate. She really wanted me to be on it for at least 12 months, which was December last year. So I've been on it maybe a year and 2 months now. But she said that I could back it off how I wanted to see, continue the results, but also maybe have less side effects as well. So I continued to back it off. We were doing, went back to the 1 tablet a day, then went to the 1 every second day. Then I was doing twice a week. Now I'm doing once a week. And I found that's been perfect for me to keep my skin clear while I'm still working on this journey. But also it's been really helpful in limiting my side effects. And on that, main symptoms, side effects that I was feeling as far as going on roaccutane. I'm just going to quickly check that it's still filming. It is. I just wanted to make sure. I know I've been talking for a long time. Main side effects I was feeling were dry lips, which is a really common one that everybody talks about. It was a little bit annoying, but honestly, it was totally tolerable. Vaseline was fantastic. I had a massive tub of Vaseline that I'm almost to the bottom of, nearly post this journey now, that I would just lather on, especially at nighttime, but throughout the day, I had like a little mini tub of Vaseline that I would put on throughout the day. I was probably honestly topping up like every hour, 2 hours, but as long as you're on top of that, it was totally tolerable. I know some people say that their lips are like peeling or they get like cracks in the side of their lips. I didn't have any of that, but I was so on top of it. Even before I started and in the early days, I never waited for them to get bad. I was just like religious with it. Dry eyes were a big one for me. I wear contacts, so having dry eyes is already an irritating thing when your contacts feel dry as well. And they already do sort of dry out your eyes a little bit throughout the day. And I just wear daily ones that you throw out and then put fresh ones in the next day. So by the end of the day, after a long day, and I could get up at 4 o'clock some days and not take them out till like 9 p.m. or so, they are already a little bit dry anyway. So that was really probably the most challenging thing for me. Same as I was with the Vaseline or any lip treatments, I was just religiously using eye drops, a good couple of drops at night before I went to bed, in the morning when I first woke up. And that was super duper helpful. I definitely tried to, when at home, wear my contacts less, glasses more, but honestly, the convenience of contacts is so, once you get used to them, and that was a journey in itself, is so much easier than wearing glasses to me. I put them in the morning. I don't think twice about it. I can see everything perfectly. But yeah, I found the worst part was that first opening of your eyes in the morning. They felt so dry and so heavy, which leads into my next side effect, which was that I felt, especially for the first couple of months, really tired and lethargic and fatigued. Waking up first thing in the morning, no matter how much sleep I got, felt hard. And I think part of it was the dry, heavy eyes that would make me feel tired when I first woke up. But also I think that tiredness then leads to a sense of, I was feeling quite depressed only when I first woke up in the morning and really unmotivated. I found it so difficult to get up. Like if I was getting up for work, even though I'd feel like crap, I'd still get up and get going. But on the mornings where I wasn't working early or on a non-work day, I was feeling really sluggish, depressed. I would lie around for ages. Then I'd feel like shit, and it was a bit of a vicious cycle. So I felt that my mental health was taking a bit of a beating at this stage, but I think it was only because of the tiredness. I know mental health is something that I heard a lot of discussion around before going on roaccutane, because some people had said through through people's experience, they had said, from what I'd seen on TikTok, I heard from friends, because I did a lot of research, that a lot of people's mental health was impacted. I felt like going into this journey, my mental health was in the best place that it had ever been. I've suffered from a lot of anxiety in my life and some depression too. And I just think I had all the best tools in place and was doing all the best things for me going into this journey, which I think was very helpful. When I spoke to my dermatologist about it, he had said that it was something that hadn't had enough research behind, but that there was nothing proving that it was linking to it. And it was obviously something that I was already feeling like I was in such a shit spot that I was willing to see and know that I could come off it at any stage if I needed to. In all honesty, I kept on top of a lot of the things I was already doing, and besides that feeling in the morning that I was just describing, I really don't think it was impacting my mental health any more than I couldn't manage myself. And as I got to that 3 or probably 5 month mark, when I was noticing changes through my skin, feeling more confident, I think the feeling of going through the journey of having my skin so flared up, sore, constantly broken out, looking in the mirror at that, the way I would feel emotionally, any day of the week was putting more impact on my mental health than having clear skin with this medication was. Now, I know everybody has their own journeys as far as mental health and this medication, but that is my personal experience, and I think it took more of a toll on my mental health and emotions going through the journey of how my skin was looking and feeling and all my hormones and everything else that came with that than it did the side effects of this treatment. But I know obviously everybody's different in that regard, but that is my personal experience. what else did I want to say on that? The only other thing that bothered me was sore joints. A lot of people talk about sore joints. When I was on the full dosage for probably 3 months or so, that 40 milligram or the 2 tablets, or I think it was an alternating 1 and 2, or maybe it was 2 a day. Cannot remember, but whatever dosage they worked me up to, which I don't think is super high compared to some others. They did want to keep it not too much because they wanted to manage my side effects. But the highest dosage I was on, I definitely felt joint pain. My fingers, I remember my hands feeling really heavy and stiff. My back was a bit achy. Just all the joints, like my ankles were a bit like stiffer and achy in my knees, especially with training. I definitely needed more warm up, more prep work. And I definitely noticed that. Not anything that was not tolerable, but there was definitely some sense of sore joints too. Now that I've backed off and I'm going to be coming off it soon, I'm doing once a week. I don't notice any of these side effects. I'm still very up to date with my hydration of my lips and eyes, but I'm only really needing to focus on that at night time before I go to bed. I'm not having to like do hourly like eye drops or Vaseline or anything on my lips. So it's definitely a different journey now. But yeah, that's definitely manageable, and I would say the side effects are next to none now post the journey. Now, I know I've been talking at you for a while, so I will wrap it up. But I just wanted to talk about where I'm at now a bit more so. And of course, I'm open to questions. I'm open to a follow-up video, any sort of discussion around that. That is why I wanted to voice this. But today, in more recent times, I've got a fantastic GP, and she's been chatting over and working out different things to help. I'm definitely on the better side of this journey now, as I've stated. There was and still is talk over suspected polycystic ovaries, whether this is a post-pill type polycystic ovaries or whether this was something that was there all along when I was first a teenager and just went unnoticed. I am unsure of. I don't know enough information about what my cycle looked like when I was 18 to be able to kind of take note on anything to do with that. But there are definitely some typical symptoms of polycystic ovaries, like breaking out of skin. When we looked at my hormone levels, there was no obvious things there going on, but it is definitely still suspected. Obviously, this can lead to things like insulin resistance. We've had a check of blood sugar and things down that path, and all is looking good, but it's still something that I'm aware that my body might be tackling in the background. What I have done personally from a nutritional standpoint, as I said earlier, this is not advice, this is just personal experience. I have swapped to lower GI carbs. These are carbohydrates that tend to stabilize through blood sugar and not spike your blood sugar. So things like I've swapped my different breads that I was having to wholemeal breads, especially when I'm at home. Less processed carbohydrates and foods in general, which is one of those we know we should do but don't always do. Not to say that we still don't have other things. But yeah, just having a bigger nutrient focus than I think we did. I think throughout this journey, because I was feeling quite depressed and down, food goes out the window very quickly there as far as a focus on nutritional content and value of your food. So putting a bigger focus on that was very helpful. I put more of a focus again on my protein intake and getting good sources and amounts of protein in so that I was staying fuller for longer and not relying on carbohydrates as my only source of fuel, although they were definitely still in my diet, and putting a focus on some good fats. So my unsaturated fats, my omega-3s, 6s, I think that was really helpful, including lots of fatty fish in my diet. I think the role of fats in the body for our hormones is something that is not spoken about enough. And even more so for older women when it comes to menopause and different changes there too. That is a chat for another day, but that was something I'm really was focusing on, and am still focusing on now. And I've noticed huge changes nutritionally. A couple of months ago, I decided I wanted to weigh myself because I could definitely see that there were changes throughout my weight and my body that had crept up over time that I'd been like, haven't noticed. And all of a sudden I was like, I've definitely gained some weight through this journey. I honestly think I'd put on between 7 to 10 kilos from where I would have been at around about when I had stopped taking the pill. As I said, I'm not someone that weighs myself regularly, but from when I had last weighed myself being on the pill, around the time I'd stopped it to then, there was probably close to 10 kilos difference. Since then, maybe 2-3 months, not months, probably like 6 months later now, I have probably through purely the changes I was just talking about, and getting better with my training routine, I was definitely lacking good consistency and motivation through my training through this journey, as with a lot of things to do with my health. Through getting consistent with training, the focus is on nutrition, the low GI carbs, all of that. I have now shifted probably 5-ish kilos of that. And I know weight is not the biggest aspect of this journey, but added weight gain for me in the sense of polycystic ovaries, potential insulin resistance, the things that come with that through more weight gain could potentially be harmful as a whole. I'm hoping I'm wording this well. It's a hard thing to discuss, but as far as how I was looking and things like that, honestly, it wasn't fazing me. Yesterday I noticed I had gained some weight 100%, but my focus was more so on how I was feeling, because I had been feeling so crappy both within my body, like gut-wise, skin-wise, all of those things, and because I was seeing an improvement in that, that wasn't my biggest focus point. But from a nutritional standpoint, I definitely wanted to see if through making some positive change, I could come a bit closer to where I was kind of previous to all of this inflammation. And I feel like I found a happy medium where I'm at now. But yeah, that is like the main focus of now. Is the biggest thing is nutrition and being consistent with training. Personally, I'm training probably 4 days a week now, and that's feeling good for me. One's a bit like a lower intensity or like a reformer Pilates, and then I have 2 or 3 strength days and 1 higher intensity cardio focused. And even saying that, I don't think it's not like my high intensity is probably not someone else's high intensity, which is fine. I don't respond well to high intensity. I didn't want to put too much stress on my body, especially when I was already going through a lot of stress. But yes, I'm definitely on the positive side and the better side of this journey now. Not that it is not always a work in progress. My cycle has, for probably the last 6 months, at least maybe a year now, been consistently within a 28 to 35 days and is having more and more, what would you call it? More and more consistency or predictability in my cycle as time goes on. I'm not someone that's like, I get my period on exactly the 28th day and I know exactly when it is. I probably have about a 5-day window. I don't know if that is people's norms or not, because what really is normal being a female? But yeah, I'm definitely feeling a lot, like a lot of progress has been made as far as this journey goes. There's always still going to be work to do, but now I feel like I'm just focusing more on my day-to-day health versus combating what I was going through. I feel like I'm getting very wordy now. But yeah, that is pretty much everything thrown across to you in a very long video. If you have any questions, any personal experiences, if you've been through a similar thing, I'd love to hear from you. That is exactly why I'm making this video, because if this is something you've been fearful of doing, or this is something that you have gone through, I'd love to hear from your experiences, or even anyone who has any advice of anything they might have done differently that was helpful. But yeah, I think the bigger message from today's video would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think I tried to fix everything myself, especially being a nutritionist. I was like, I've got this, I can fix everything myself. I think the root cause, finding what that is, if it's hormonal changes, maybe getting some blood work done, focus on gut health, all those sort of things would have been helpful for me to have attacked earlier on. My nutrition focus more so now is helpful, same with my training, but I think earlier on I wasn't in a place to be making those changes. So I think, yeah, speaking up earlier on, not being afraid. I personally wish I had gone on roaccutane like a year earlier. I think that's been something that really helped my journey, because being able to deal with that inflammation and emotion around that was something that helped me then combat my journey moving forwards. And being able to take that away from the situation has helped me focus more on my health, my gut, all those sort of things. Having someone to advise you on supplements of things you might be lacking or things that might be helpful. I don't want to give specific advice on this, but there's obviously some key nutrients that are depleted from the pill or hormonally that could be supplemented and very helpful in your journey. So there's a lot of things that could be done if you were starting this journey. I definitely go and talk to, a trusted GP or health professional, or even like a naturopath or whoever you see when it comes to your health, to help take you through this process versus having to do it on your own. But yeah, and this is, well, by no means was to create any fear either, because I know so many people that have come off the pill and had positive, great experiences. But this is just to talk about mine and hopefully relate to someone. I'm going to wrap up now because I could keep going all day. Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully I can chat with you all in the comments or in person about this in the future, and we can potentially chat about it later, make another video on it later, but you'll definitely be coming back to a lot more nutrition focus or food focus, training focus videos in the future as well. But if there's ever anything else you'd like to hear from me about, I'm always open to suggestions. See ya.